The wedding dress hit the trash can before I even understood what she said. One second I was holding it out with both hands, smiling at my grown daughter. The next second, Emily rolled her eyes, snatched the dress from me, and tossed it straight into the kitchen bin. "A dress for poor people," she said. "You really thought I'd wear that?" The satin folded in on itself, the lace I had sewn all night sliding down the black trash bag. My fingers still hurt from the needle. "I stayed up all night, baby," I whispered. "Every stitch is from my hands." Emily didn't even look at me. Her thumb moved across her phone screen. "Adam already bought my real dress, Mom. I'm not going to look cheap on my wedding day." She said cheap like it was my first name. I wanted to grab the dress back and ask, "Who raised you?" But the words got stuck. Instead, I turned to the sink, picked up the same clean cup, and started washing it again. While the water ran, my mind slipped backward to when my daughter still held my hand like it was the best thing in the world. We used to live in a small apartment over a bakery. I'd braid Emily's hair at the table while she ate toast. Her father, Mark, worked nights. I worked days. Money was tight, but Emily never went to bed hungry. She had secondhand clothes, simple birthday cakes, and a mama who showed up to every school play. Back then, she would tug on my uniform and say, "When I grow up, I'm gonna buy you a big house, Mama. With your own sewing room." I'd kiss her forehead. "I just need you to stay kind," I always told her. Somewhere between that little girl and this woman with fake lashes and a fancy fiancé, kind got lost. It didn't happen all at once. First came the small things. She asked for brands instead of clothes. "Everybody at school has them," she'd say. Then it was how she talked about people. "Did you see her dress? So cheap. I'd die before wearing something like that." I should have stopped her then, reminded her we were the cheap people once. But I was tired and always chasing bills. So I'd mumble, "Now, Emmy, don't be mean," and go back to counting tips. Then she met Adam. He came from money, real money. He called me ma'am and smiled with perfect teeth, but his eyes slid past my thrift store clothes like they didn't exist. Slowly, my daughter began to sound more like him and less like me. She talked about image and status and how our apartment was cute but embarrassing. She told people she was staying with Adam's family instead of living at home. So when she called and said, "Mom, I want you to make my wedding dress. I want something special from you," I almost cried. I took extra shifts. I bought the best fabric we could afford. I added lace from my own old dress. I stayed up all night humming, imagining her walking down the aisle saying, "My mom made this." And then that dress landed in the trash like it was nothing. I looked at my daughter, really looked. At the perfect nails, the phone in her hand, the cold eyes like I was staff, not her mother. The hurt in my chest tightened, then turned into something heavy and strangely calm. Right there by the kitchen sink, with my dress in the trash and my daughter calling me cheap, a sharp thought slid into my mind. "Fine, Emily, if you're ashamed of where you came from, I'll make sure you remember it." That was the first crack in my patience. And I had no idea yet how wide I was going to break it open by the day of her wedding. The next morning, the house was so quiet I could hear the fridge hum. Emily had gone out with the wedding planner. Adam's shiny car had already rolled away from the curb, music thumping, my daughter laughing in the passenger seat. I watched them turn the corner, then walked straight back to the kitchen trash. The dress lay there, crushed under a pizza box. One lace sleeve hung over the edge like a little white hand reaching up. I pulled it out. Coffee grounds speckled the skirt. A red sauce streak ran across the front. My fingers shook, but it wasn't the soft shaking that comes from crying. It was tight and hot, like something sharp inside my chest. "In your own house," I whispered. "She called you poor in your own house." I spread the dress on the table and wiped it with a damp towel. The fabric was finished, but the neat rows of stitches were still there. My time, my eyes, my sore back from standing all night, those were still real. Those were not cheap. While I cleaned, my mind went backward. When my husband, Mark, left, he didn't just walk out. He took our savings and our peace with him. Emily was 16, standing in the doorway with tears on her cheeks while I held an eviction notice in my hand and pretended I knew what to do. I worked any job I could find. I cleaned other people's houses. I sewed other women's party dresses. I washed floors that would never belong to me. That tiny apartment over the bakery was all we had, and I clung to it with both hands. When my mama died, she left me a small amount of money, not enough to change our lives, but enough to open one door. I used it as a down payment and bought the apartment. The deed had my name on it. For the first time, nobody could kick us out. I used to tell Emily, one day this place will be yours, no landlord, no begging, just a key and a door that opens. She'd hug me and say, "You're my hero, Mom. When I'm rich, I'm buying you a mansion." Then Rich showed up with good teeth and a nicer car, and somehow I turned from hero into embarrassment. After she moved in with Adam, she talked about our home like it was something stuck to her shoe. "You should sell it, Mom," she'd say. "You could move somewhere nicer or help us with a down payment. That old place is just sitting there." I always answered the same. "That apartment is the only thing I truly own. It stays in my name." She'd go quiet and change the subject. Back then, I thought she was just annoyed. I didn't know quiet could hide a plan. My phone buzzed while the ruined dress hung over the chair. "Don't forget dinner at Adam's parents at 7. Wear something classy. Please don't embarrass me." I put on my dark blue dress, the one nice thing in my closet, and polished my old black shoes. The bus ride to their neighborhood felt like crossing a border. Their street was full of big houses with wide porches and shiny cars lined up like trophies. Adam's parents' place had white columns and a front door that looked heavier than my whole kitchen wall. "Mrs. Miller, we're so glad you could come," Adam's mother, Claire, said. Her smile was sweet, but her eyes scanned my dress, my hands, my shoes like she was checking items on a list. "Come in, come in. We've been talking so much about the kids' future." We sat at a long table that could have held my whole kitchen. Halfway through dinner, Claire folded her hands and leaned toward me. "So," she said, "Emily tells us you own your apartment outright. That is very responsible of you." "Yes, ma'am," I said. "It took me a long time." She nodded. "With the wedding and the kids starting their life together, we've been thinking of ways to support them. It's hard for young couples these days." Adam jumped in. "We were thinking maybe it would make sense if you transferred the apartment into our names now. For planning, for loans, that kind of thing. You'd still live there, of course. It's just paperwork." My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. "Excuse me?" I asked, very calm. Emily finally looked up. "Mom, it's not a big deal, you know it's coming to me anyway. Doing it now just helps us qualify for better options. You want us to start strong, right?" There it was, not just ugly words about a dress. They were already counting my home like it was theirs. Inside me, something went very still. On the outside, I gave a small smile. "Paperwork makes my head spin," I said lightly. "I need to read every line real slow. We'll talk about it later." They laughed like I'd told a cute grandma joke and moved on to dessert. Later, on my way to the bathroom, I passed a little table in the hallway. Emily's purse sat there, half open. A stack of papers stuck out, covered in yellow highlighter. Old habit made my eyes catch the title on top. "Transfer of property ownership." My name was already printed near the bottom. I didn't touch it. I didn't rip it. I didn't shout. I just looked long enough to remember everything I could see. Because in that polished hallway with the smell of lemon cleaner and expensive candles, I finally understood something. My daughter wasn't just ashamed of my dress. She was getting ready to strip me of the only thing I had left. And she really believed I was too old and too dumb to notice. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that title again. Transfer of property ownership. My name printed neat and dark, like the paper already knew more than I did. By sunrise, I was sitting at my tiny kitchen table with a cup of coffee gone cold, the ruined dress folded beside me like a dead thing. "That apartment is all you've got," I told myself out loud. "If they take that, what's left?" Around 10, someone knocked. It was Emily. No Adam, no fancy car, just my daughter in tight jeans and a white blouse smelling like expensive perfume and stress. "Mom, we need to talk," she said, walking in without waiting. I watched her eyes go straight to the trash can. She saw the dress was gone. Her mouth tightened. "You didn't actually keep that thing, did you?" I kept my voice calm. "I washed it. I worked hard on it." She sighed, loud and sharp. "Mom, come on. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was just overwhelmed. The wedding's a lot, you know how I get." She touched my arm like she was petting a dog. "I know, baby," I said. "We're all stressed." Her shoulders relaxed. She took that as a win. "Good," she said, "because we really, really need you to be on board with everything, especially the financial stuff. Adam's parents are planning something big for us. A house, Mom, a real house, not a little apartment, but we need every asset to look right on paper." There it was again. "Not your home? Asset?" She opened her bag and pulled out a folder. My heart dropped when I saw the same yellow highlighter marks on top. "These are just forms," she said. "The lawyer printed them. It's the easiest way to get things moving." She slid one toward me. Her nails were perfect, pale pink and shiny. Mine were short with a bit of flour still stuck near the edges from baking. "Just sign where your name is," she said, tapping the bottom of the page. "Adam will handle the rest. Seriously, it's no big deal." I didn't look down right away. I looked at her face instead. Her smile was stretched too tight. Her eyes didn't meet mine. There was a little muscle jumping in her jaw. "Sweetheart," I said gently, "remember the time your teacher tried to get you to sign a blank paper in 5th grade? I told you never to sign anything you don't fully understand." She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, Mom, that was about a field trip. This is grown-up stuff. You don't have to understand every small thing. That's why we have lawyers." I picked up the paper, careful like it might burn me. The words swam a little, but I caught enough. Legal terms, my apartment's address, talk about title transfer rights. At the bottom, there was a line with my name under it. Empty, waiting. "I'll take this to Mr. Patel at the corner store," I said lightly. "You know, the one who helped me with the tax forms last year. I'll let him explain it to me in slow, old lady English." Emily's face changed fast, too fast. "Mom, seriously?" Her voice went sharp. "You're being paranoid. You always do this. You turn every little thing into a big drama." Paranoid. There was the word. I set the papers back on the table. "If it's so simple, it won't matter if I read it slow, will it?" She stared at me, then laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You know what? Keep it for now, but don't take too long. We have deadlines, Mom. Don't ruin things for me because you're scared." She snatched the folder back, shoved most of it into her bag, but one copy slid loose. In her hurry, she didn't see it fall under the chair. I did. After she left, I picked that copy up with 2 fingers like a snake. I put on my glasses, sat down, and read every word 3 times. I still didn't understand everything, but I understood enough. If I signed that thing, my apartment would no longer be mine. And right at the bottom, on the 2nd page, a tiny note in the corner: initial draft. Final version with signatures filed at office. Final version with signatures, but I hadn't signed anything. A cold feeling crawled up my neck. I grabbed my coat and the paper and walked straight down to the local bank where I pay my bills. Inside, the air smelled like paper and coffee. I asked for the loan officer, Mrs. Green, the woman who always called me Hun and helped me when I messed up my account. "Mrs. Miller, what can I do for you?" she asked. I slid the paper over. "Has anyone been trying to use my apartment for a loan or anything like that?" She clicked through her computer, frowning. "Let me see, there was an inquiry last week. Someone asked what the property was worth as collateral." "Who?" I asked. My voice came out clear, not shaky. She looked uneasy. "I can't share client details, Hun, but the request had your last name on it. And the contact email is very close to your daughter's." My fingers tightened around my purse strap. One more small thing snapped into place. Then another: the way Emily pushed the dress in the trash. The way Adam talked about planning. The highlighted forms. The rush. They were cooking something behind my back. On the way home, my mind was quiet. Too quiet. Back in my kitchen, I took the paper from my purse and looked again at the tiny printed note about final version with signatures. Then I noticed it. On the photocopy, under my printed name, there was already a shaky, curling signature. It was supposed to be mine, but I had never held that pen. Someone had already signed my home away. I stared at that fake signature until the letters blurred. Whoever copied my name tried to make it shaky like an old woman's hand. They even dragged the tail of the R the way I do, but they messed up one small thing. They rounded the M in Miller. I always make it sharp like 3 little mountains. This one was soft and loopy, like someone guessing. "Nice try," I whispered. I took a picture with my old phone, then I slid the copy into a plastic bag and hid it in the flour tin in my pantry. People search drawers. Nobody moves the flour. Around noon, my phone rang. "Emily." "Hey, Mom," she said, too bright. "Did you look at the forms? We really need to move fast." "I took a peek," I said. "Funny thing, though. I saw my name already signed on one copy, and I don't remember doing that." Silence. Then a thin little laugh. "Oh, Mom, you probably forgot. We signed a draft at the lawyer's office last month, remember? You were tired that day?" "I've never been to your lawyer's office," I answered. "Trust me, I remember every time I leave this house." She sighed. You're getting mixed up, Mom, it happens. You called me Lily last week. I called you Lily on purpose, I said. My mother's name, she used to talk down to people too. Her voice sharpened. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Adam says we should respect your process, but you're freaking out because you don't understand legal stuff. This is regular planning, Mom, adult stuff. There it was. I wasn't careful. I was confused. I wasn't protecting my home. I was freaking out. I'll understand it just fine, I said softly. Good, she snapped. Because the lawyer already filed the initial version. If you start telling people you didn't sign, it's just going to make you sound not well. Don't do that to yourself. Not well, old, forgetful, easy to ignore. They weren't just reaching for my apartment. They were building a story about me. After we hung up, my hands shook not from fear but from anger so clean it felt cold. I put on my coat and walked to Mr. Singh's print shop. He'd done my tax forms for years. He knew numbers and tiny letters other people ignored. The bell over the door rang when I stepped in. He looked up. Mrs. Miller. Sit. I laid the copy on his desk. Please look at this like an accountant, not a friend, I said. What are they trying to do? He read quietly, then tapped the page. If you sign this, your apartment becomes joint property with your daughter and her fiancé, he said. But this note, final version with signatures filed at office, that is strange if you never signed. Can someone fake my name and file it? I asked. He frowned. It is fraud, but yes, they can try. Sometimes people are lazy. They assume the old person will not fight back. Would a bank believe me if I said that's not my signature? They might, he said. Especially if you move fast and if you can show how you really sign, and if other people can say where you were. On my way home, I stopped at my neighbor Rosa's door. She'd lived across the hall since before Emily could tie her shoes. Rosa, I asked, have you ever seen me go downtown with Emily for some meeting, lawyer, office, anything? She snorted. No, you go to church, groceries, and the clinic. If someone says different, they're lying. She said it so strong it settled something inside me. That night, I pulled out my metal box of papers from under the bed. Deed, birth certificates, old insurance. I made copies and hid them in 3 places: the flour tin, the back of my closet, and inside my Bible cover. If my own child wanted a paper war, I'd give her one. By the time I lay down, I knew 2 things for sure. 1, my daughter was willing to erase me on paper to build her perfect life. 2, she thought I was too soft and too old to stop her. The wedding wasn't just a party anymore. It was starting to look like the perfect stage to show her exactly how wrong she was. The morning after I saw that fake signature, the sky was heavy and gray. Good, it matched my mood. I put on my warmest sweater, tied my hair back, and slipped the paper copy into my purse. I wasn't going to cry today. I was going to work. First stop was the little temple of money and trouble, the county record's office. The building smelled like dust and old coffee. A bored clerk sat behind a glass window, tapping on her keyboard like it had done something wrong. Can I help you? She asked without looking up. Yes, ma'am, I said. My name is Margaret Miller. I own an apartment on Baker Street. I need to see if any papers were filed with my name on them. She took my ID, typed for a while, then squinted at the screen. She said. There was a recent filing connected to that address. Transfer of ownership pending review. My stomach twisted. Does it say who signed? She clicked again. Signature Margaret Miller. I let out a small, dry laugh. I'd like to file a statement that I did not sign anything. And I want that note to sit right on top of whatever is in there, please. She finally looked at me, really looked, at my steady eyes, at my worn but clean sweater. Yes, ma'am, she said, softer now. We can attach your statement to the record. If there's a dispute later, this will matter. Good, I said, because there will be a dispute, I promise you that. Next, I went to see a real lawyer, not a friend of Adam's family. Not someone who saw me as old and confused. Mr. Singh had given me a name on the back of a receipt. She helped my aunt, he'd said. She does not like bullies. Her office was small but neat. No fancy art, just law books and a plant that badly needed water. Her nameplate said, Laura King, attorney at law. She shook my hand firmly. What's going on, Mrs. Miller? I laid everything out on her desk. The copy with the fake signature, the notes from the bank, my statement from the records office. I told her about the trash can dress, the dinner, the papers, the way Emily used words like paranoid and confused. Laura listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sat back and let out a slow breath. Okay, she said. Here's the simple version. Someone tried to transfer your property without your true consent. That's fraud. If they used that paper to get a loan or anything else, that's more fraud. You're not crazy, you're not confused, you're being targeted. The tight knot inside my chest loosened just a little. What can I do? I asked. Besides sit here and feel stupid for raising a selfish child. Her eyes softened for half a second, then they went sharp again. We do 3 things, she said. 1, we lock your apartment down. 2, we collect proof. 3, we decide when to drop the hammer. Lock it down how? We file our own clean documents, she said. We reconfirm your ownership and put a note that no changes are valid unless you show up in person with ID in front of a notary. We can also put your apartment into a simple plan so it goes where you choose after you die, and not to anyone who tries to cheat while you're alive. So even if they wave some fake paper, nobody can take it? Exactly, she said. Not without running headfirst into your statement and my name. I liked her already. Second, she went on, you start collecting evidence. Save texts, record calls if your state allows it, write down dates, times, exact words. People like this always slip, they say too much when they feel safe. I thought of Emily's tone, the way she'd said, you probably forgot, like my mind was a broken drawer. They already slipped, I said. They let a copy fall into my hands. Laura smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. Good, let them keep slipping. Third thing, I asked. She folded her hands. Third, you decide what you want. Do you just want to protect your home, or do you want consequences? The word hung in the air like a sharp knife. Consequences, I said. I want them to feel what they tried to do to me, deep, public. And I don't want them to walk away clean. That can be done, she said calmly. We can involve the police. We can alert the bank, and timing is our friend. You mentioned a wedding. Yes, I said slowly. In about 3 weeks. She raised one eyebrow. Lots of witnesses, lots of people who think they know who's honest and who's not. A small chill ran down my arms. What are you thinking? I asked. I'm thinking, she said, that if your daughter and her fiancé try to use your apartment as part of their perfect life story, we let them build that story as high as they want. And then we pull the bottom block out, she said. All at once, in front of everyone. On my way home, the air felt different. Colder but cleaner, like the truth had cracked a window. I started playing a part. With Emily, I made my voice softer. I let her explain things like I was slow. I asked dumb questions. I said, you're right, honey, I worry too much, just enough times to make her relax. And every time she slipped and said something nasty about using the apartment, about doing what's necessary, about getting around old paperwork, I wrote her words down right after we hung up. Day by day, little pieces of her real plan started to pile up on my kitchen table. And at the bottom of that pile sat one very quiet thought. If she wanted a wedding big enough to show off her new life, I was going to give her a show no one there would ever forget. 2 weeks before the wedding, my phone started buzzing like a trapped bee. Group chats, vendor calls, Emily sending me lists like I was a free personal assistant. Mom, confirm the flowers. Mom, don't forget to press your dress. Mom, please try not to cry too much. It ruins the photos. Every text had the same taste. I was good enough to do work, not good enough to be seen. One afternoon, she called while I was stirring a pot of soup. Mom, I talked to Adam and we decided you shouldn't handle any more paperwork stuff, she said. You get overwhelmed. You almost messed up the venue contract, remember? I stopped stirring. I didn't mess anything up. I just asked to read it. She laughed, but it came out sharp. Exactly, you read everything like a detective. It slows us down. From now on, just enjoy the day, okay? Let the grown-ups handle the complicated things. Grown-ups, I repeated slowly. I'm the one who raised you, Emily. Yeah, and I love you, she said quickly. But you get confused sometimes. Adam says it's normal at your age. It's not an insult. There it was again, that little knife word. Confused. When we hung up, I put the spoon down and washed my hands slowly, one finger at a time. Later that week, I met with Laura again in her office. I passed her my phone with all the texts and a notebook full of my messy handwriting. Dates, times, exact words. She flipped through, nodding. They're building a story, she said. Old, confused mother, helpful children. If anything explodes, they'll say you didn't understand. Can we blow that story up? I asked. She smiled a small, cold smile. Yes, but you have to be very patient. Can you do that? I thought of all the nights I had stayed up sewing clothes, cooking meals, sitting by a hospital bed with a feverish child. Patience is the one thing I'm rich in, I said. Good, she said. So here's the plan in plain English. She laid it out like a recipe. First, she had already filed papers to lock my apartment. Any change now needed me in person in front of a notary with ID. No quiet tricks. No surprise filings. Second, she had sent a polite but firm note to the bank. Do not use this property as collateral without my direct consent, it said in legal words. Anyone who tried would set off alarms. Third, she had prepared a neat folder with all our proof. Fake signature, my statement, banknotes, texts, dates. I can move this to the police or a judge anytime you say go, she told me. But if you want the biggest impact, we wait. We wait for the wedding, I said quietly. She nodded. Everyone important will be there, including, I hope, some people they want to impress. Oh, they made sure of that, I said. Adam's boss, his rich uncle, some business partners, and Emily invited every person who ever doubted her just to show off. Perfect, Laura said. Do you think we can bring a few guests of our own? Like who? Someone from the bank. Maybe Mrs. Green, maybe the clerk from records. People who can say, no, this isn't right, with authority. You won't look like a confused old lady then, you'll look like the one telling the truth. The idea slid into my mind and settled there heavy and satisfying. A week before the wedding, I accidentally stopped by the bank at the same time every day until I caught Mrs. Green on a slow afternoon. I told her the short version. I didn't ask her to pick sides. I just said, I might need you to stand where you can see clearly soon. She looked at me for a long moment. If someone tried this with my mother, she said, I would burn the earth. I just want to shake it a little, I said. Just enough so some people fall down. She agreed to come for support, as she called it. I also visited Rosa. I told her everything. Her eyes flashed. I always knew that boy smelled like fake lemon cleaner, she said. You want me there? I'll wear my good shoes. Front row, I said. I want you close. Through all this, I kept playing my part for Emily. Mom, can you be ready early for the wedding? Adam's parents want to take family photos first. Just us and them, it's very important, she said one evening over the phone. Of course, I said sweetly, I'll be there. Wear something simple, she added, not too emotional, and please don't bring up money or the apartment. It's not the time. I smiled into the empty kitchen. Don't worry, honey, I said. When it's time to talk about the apartment, everyone will know it. She didn't hear the edge in my voice. She was too busy talking about decorations. On the night before the wedding, I took the ruined dress out of the closet. The stains were still there, faint but visible. I didn't plan to fix it. I planned to carry it like a memory. I folded it carefully and laid it back down. Tomorrow, I told the quiet room, you're not taking anything from me. Then I thought of something sharper. Tomorrow, I'm taking something from you. I went to bed early, listening to the rain start against the window, and pictured that big wedding hall. The lights, the music, the guests, my daughter in her expensive dress. And walking into all that with my lawyer and my quiet little army behind me, ready to turn her perfect day inside out. The morning of the wedding, the sky was bright and cruelly blue. I stood in front of my mirror and smoothed my dress. It wasn't new. It was the same dark blue one I wore to Adam's parents' house the night they first tried to wrap chains around my home. I pressed it, stitched a loose hem, and added a small silver brooch my own mother used to wear. I'm enough, I told my reflection, just like this. On the chair beside my bed sat a plain canvas tote bag. Inside was a neat folder with all the proof Laura had given me. Next to it, folded soft and quiet, was the ruined wedding dress Emily had thrown in the trash. Coffee stains and all. I slipped the tote over my shoulder, picked up my keys, and locked my apartment. My apartment, still mine. The hall was paid for by Adam's family. When I arrived, the parking lot was already half full. Big cars, shiny shoes, women in bright dresses and high heels. People laughed loudly like nothing bad had ever happened to them. At the entrance, there was a sign with Emily and Adam's names in gold letters. Under it, a smiling young woman with a tablet checked people in. Name, she asked. Margaret Miller, I said, mother of the bride. She looked confused. Oh, sorry, I thought you'd arrive with the bridal party. They're inside in the back room? Of course they were. I was family when it was time to clean and sew, background when it was time for pictures. Inside, the hall looked like a movie: white tablecloths, tall flowers, fairy lights. A big stage with a fancy arch where they'd say their vows. Soft music played over the speakers. Adam's mother, Claire, spotted me first. She walked over in a silver dress that probably cost more than my car had back when I still had one. "Mrs. Miller," she said, air kissing near my cheek. "So glad you could make it on time. The photographer is about to start family photos." "I came as early as I could," I said. "You said it was important?" "Yes," she said, taking my elbow. "We'll do pictures with close family first, just us and the kids. We've arranged a little photo order." Photo order, I already knew what that meant. She led me toward a side door. Inside, the bridal room was full of mirrors and white chairs. Emily stood in the center in a dress that was definitely not mine. It was big and shiny and heavy with beads. It looked like money, not love. When she saw me in the mirror, she froze for half a second, then pasted on a smile. "Mom," she said, "you made it." "I told you I would," I said. "You look expensive." She laughed like that was a compliment. "The designer rushed it for us. Adam insisted, to make sure I look like I belong next to him." My eyes flicked to Adam. He stood in the corner, adjusting his cufflinks. He gave me a polite nod like I was the neighbor dropping off a casserole. "Mrs. Miller," he said, "thank you for coming. It means a lot to Emily that you're here." "Does it?" I asked softly. Emily's eyes flashed just for a second. "Mom, don't start, not today. Please just enjoy yourself." "No drama," I smiled. "I promise," I said, "I won't start anything." The photographer, a young man with a beard and a tired face, clapped his hands. "Okay, let's get the immediate family together. Parents of the bride and groom first." Claire moved fast, sliding herself and her husband to either side of Emily and Adam. They made a perfect rich picture: shiny parents, shiny couple. I stood there holding my tote bag. The photographer looked around. "And the bride's mother?" Claire's smile tightened. "We'll do a special shot with her later," she said. "Right now we're trying to keep the frame balanced." Balanced. Meaning me, with my old dress and my tired face, would tilt their perfect little image. The photographer hesitated. Sure, okay." I caught his eye and gave the smallest nod. He relaxed like I'd given him permission not to fight. The first crack in their pretty picture was small, but it was there. People saw. Adam's uncle, a big man with a red face, whispered to his wife, loud enough for me to hear. "Why isn't the bride's mother in the photo?" His wife frowned. "Maybe she's not presentable?" I felt the words hit my skin and slide off. I wasn't here to be presentable. I was here to be unforgettable. When it was finally my turn, they arranged me on the very edge of a group shot. "Just hold your bag behind you," the photographer said. "It looks a little busy." I rested the tote behind my leg but didn't put it down. "Big smiles," he called. Emily smiled, but her eyes were hard. Adam smiled like this was just another business event. I gave the camera the soft, calm face my mother used to wear at funerals, the one that said, "I know more than I'm saying." After the photos, Emily pulled me aside near the drink table. "Mom, listen," she said in a low voice. "I need you to promise me something." "What's that?" "Please don't talk to anyone today about the apartment or papers or any of that," she said. "If you start confusing people, they'll think you're losing it. I don't want anyone thinking that about you." "Confusing people," I repeated. "Is that what I do?" She nodded quickly. "You stress yourself out. You mix up dates and details. You remember things wrong. It's okay, it's normal. I just don't want you embarrassed in front of everyone." I looked around. People were watching us out of the corners of their eyes. They saw an anxious bride taking care of her poor old mother. "Don't worry, Emily," I said gently. "I won't confuse anyone today." Relief washed over her face. "Thank you," she said. "I knew you'd understand." Across the hall, the main doors opened again. I saw Laura walk in, dressed in a simple black dress, hair pulled back, a neat folder in her hands. Right behind her came Mrs. Green from the bank and the clerk from the records office. They looked like regular guests, but I knew better. My quiet little army had arrived, and they were right on time. They started seating people about 20 minutes before the ceremony. I sat near the front on the groom's side, even though I was the bride's mother. There was an empty chair with a little reserved sign closer to the aisle, but when I tried to sit there, an usher in a tight suit smiled and shook his head. Sorry, ma'am, that one's for VIP family, he said. I looked at the sign, then at him. I gave birth to the bride, I said. That not VIP enough. He turned pink. I'm just doing what they told me, ma'am. It's okay, I said. I like this seat, good view. From where I sat, I could see everything, the arch, the aisle, the guests, the doors. Laura slipped into the row behind me. On her left sat Mrs. Green from the bank, on her right, the clerk from the records office. Rosa was next to me in her good shoes, hands folded tight on her lap. You sure you want to do this? Rosa whispered. Oh, I'm past sure, I said. I'm comfortable. The music changed. Everyone stood. Emily walked in on her father's arm, Mark, who had crawled out of whatever hole he'd been in because rich people and cameras were here today. He looked cleaned up and guilty. She looked like a walking price tag. Her dress glittered so hard it almost hurt my eyes. She glanced over the crowd until she saw me. For a second, our eyes met. Then she dropped her gaze like I was a stain on the carpet. Fine, look away now, I thought. You'll be looking at me soon enough. The officiant talked about love, partnership, building a future, the usual script. I heard the words, but I watched Adam's parents' faces instead, the way they smiled wide and proud. Then the officiant said, Today is not just about two hearts, but also two families joining to build a new home and a strong foundation. Adam's father stepped forward with a microphone. If I may, he said, I just want to say how proud we are of Emily and Adam. They have worked so hard to plan their future. They've combined their resources, made smart choices. They even arranged to move important property into their names so they can have a real home from day one. A soft murmur moved through the guests. Words floated in the air. Apartment, down payment, her mother's place. Adam smiled at Emily like she was some brave warrior. Emily shot a quick look toward me, then away. And there it was, the brag, the public story, the one where my home was already theirs. The officiant smiled. A wonderful example of planning ahead. Now, before we continue with the vows, I stood up. Excuse me, I said, my voice steady. Before you go any further, I need to fix one small thing. Heads turned. People shifted in their seats. Emily's eyes went wide. Mom, sit down, she hissed. You're going to embarrass yourself. I stepped into the aisle, tote bag on my shoulder. My heart beat hard, but my legs were steady. I won't embarrass myself, I said calmly, but I might embarrass some other people. There was a low ripple of laughter, the nervous kind. Mom, Emily said louder, her voice bright and fake. Please, you're just confused. We'll talk later. I took one more step forward. If I'm confused, I said, maybe someone can help me understand why there's a fake version of my signature sitting in the county records office. The room went quiet. The DJ actually turned the music down all the way. Adam's face changed like a switch had flipped. Mrs. Miller, he said smoothly, I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding. Maybe you don't recall signing? Laura stood up behind me. She recalls just fine, she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried. My name is Laura King. I'm Mrs. Miller's attorney. You could feel the air change. The word attorney moved through the room like a cold wind. Emily laughed too high. Mom hired a lawyer, she said to the guests like it was some silly joke. She's been really anxious. It's okay, we're handling it. Mrs. Green rose slowly from her seat. I'm Mrs. Green from First City Bank, she said. This little misunderstanding involved an inquiry to use Mrs. Miller's apartment as collateral. With a signed transfer she never actually signed. The clerk from records lifted his hand. And there's a statement on file from Mrs. Miller saying she did not appear in our office despite documents claiming she did. All eyes swung back to Emily and Adam. Emily's face turned the color of ash under her makeup. For a moment I thought she might really faint. Her hand grabbed Adam's arm so tight her knuckles went white. Adam tried to smile. It didn't reach his eyes. People make mistakes, he said. We were just trying to organize things faster. It's not a crime to be efficient. It is a crime to forge a signature, Laura said. It is also a crime to file a false document and attempt to use stolen property for financial gain. Someone near the back whispered, stolen property? Another voice. Is she serious? I slipped my hand into the tote bag and pulled out the folded, ruined dress. The stains were old now, but still visible. The lace I had sewn by hand still looked delicate. This, I said, holding it up, is the dress I spent all night sewing for my daughter. She threw it in the trash and called it a dress for poor people. Gasps. A few people shook their heads. Today, I went on, I brought it back. Not because I want her to wear it, because it shows exactly how she sees me, disposable, embarrassing, something to be thrown away once she's done using it. My voice didn't shake, it sounded like it was coming from a stone. She didn't just try to throw away my work, she tried to throw away my home, my life, everything I built alone when her father left. Emily finally snapped. "Mom, stop it," she shouted. "You're making a scene, you're twisting everything, you don't understand how this works." I looked straight at her. "No," I said. "For the first time, I understand exactly how it works." Behind me, I heard Laura's calm voice. "Mrs. Miller, do you still want to move forward with the charges we discussed?" Emily's eyes went huge. "Charges?" I didn't look away. "Yes," I said, "I do." And just like that, her perfect wedding stopped being hers. For a long second after I said, "Yes, I do," nobody moved. Then everything moved at once. Voices rose, chairs scraped. Somewhere a glass fell and smashed. The pretty music cut off with a sharp click, like even the speakers were shocked. Emily stared at me like I had just set fire to the altar. "You're not serious," she whispered. "Oh, I'm very serious," I said. "You wanted to use my life as your down payment. I'm just making sure everyone sees the bill." Adam stepped in front of her, putting himself between us like a shield. His voice went low and smooth again. "Mrs. Miller, you're upset," he said. "This is clearly a misunderstanding. You don't want to do something you'll regret?" I tilted my head. "Funny," I replied. "I was going to say that to you." Laura walked up the aisle, heels clicking, folder in hand. She stopped beside me, calm as if we were at the bank, not in front of 100 staring guests. "We already filed to protect your apartment," she said loud enough for people to hear. "And after this, we'll be speaking to the police. There are enough documents and witnesses to move this forward." Claire rushed up, face tight. "This is not the place," she snapped. "You're ruining their wedding." I turned to her. "Your son and my daughter tried to ruin my whole life," I said. "This is me being gentle." The officiant shifted from foot to foot, sweating. "Should we take a short break?" he asked. Adam grabbed the mic from its stand. "Everybody relax," he said with a wide, fake smile. "Family drama, right? She's confused, we'll sort it out, let's move on to the vows." That was the last straw. I held up my hand. "No," I said, "you will not drag me back under that word." I stepped closer to the front so everyone could see my face. "I am not confused," I said, slow and clear. "I am not forgetful, I am not crazy. I am a woman who worked her whole life for one small piece of safety, and my own child tried to steal it behind my back." A few older women in the crowd nodded, tiny, sharp movements. They knew. "Mrs. Green," Laura asked, "would you mind confirming what you told us at the bank?" Mrs. Green stood, straightening her blazer. "There was an attempt to use Mrs. Miller's apartment as collateral," she said. "Documents with a signature that did not match her real one. When she came in to ask about it, she was clear, calm, and very aware of what was happening." The clerk lifted a folded paper from his pocket. "And here is her written statement at the county office," he added. "Filed before today, saying she never signed any transfer." Mark, my ex-husband, finally spoke up from the front row. "Is this true?" he asked Adam, voice rough. "You tried to take her place?" Adam's jaw clenched. "We were just trying to be efficient," he said again, but the words sounded thinner now. Emily looked from face to face, panic rising. "We didn't hurt anyone," she cried. "It would have been mine anyway when she dies, we were just speeding it up." The room turned even colder. There it was, the quiet part spoken into a microphone. "You were planning my death like a delivery date," I said softly. "Thank you for saying it out loud." Behind us, a couple of guests stood up and slipped out, shaking their heads. Adam's boss whispered something to his wife, then checked his phone with a focused frown, already walking away in his mind. Laura leaned toward me. "Ready?" she asked. "I've been ready for years," I said. She turned to Adam and Emily. "You are both now aware that any further attempts to use this property will be documented as intentional fraud," she said. "After today, we'll be moving forward with a formal report. There will be an investigation. I suggest you get your own lawyer." Claire gasped. "You can't do this," she said. "You're destroying their future." "They tried to destroy mine," I answered. "I'm just making sure the damage lands where it belongs." I looked at Emily one last time. Her makeup was cracking around her eyes. She looked like the little girl who used to cry when she fell and scraped her knee, except now she was the one holding the knife. "You could have had everything," I told her quietly. A home waiting for you one day, a mother cheering for you. A dress made with love, all you had to do was treat me like a person. She swallowed hard. Mom, please, she whispered. We can fix this. Just say you were confused, say you mixed it up, we'll take care of you. There it was. The last little piece of gaslighting, soft and poisonous. I felt something in me close, like a door that would never open again. No, I said. From this moment on, you don't take care of me, you don't speak for me. You don't touch my keys, my papers, or my name. I took off the small necklace I always wore, the cheap little silver heart she gave me in middle school with "Best Mom" stamped crooked on it. I walked up to her and pressed it into her perfect, shaking hand. You keep this, I said. It belongs to the girl you used to be. I don't know that girl anymore. Then I turned to the guests. There will be no wedding today, I said calmly. You can all go home or stay and enjoy the food. It's already paid for. A shocked laugh slipped out of someone in the back. A few people clapped once without meaning to, then stopped, embarrassed. I walked down the aisle, tote bag on my shoulder, Laura and my little army falling in beside me. Rosa slipped her arm through mine. At the door, I stopped and looked back one last time. Emily was standing there in her bright, heavy dress, surrounded by flowers and lies, clutching that cheap little necklace like it was the only real thing left in the room. I didn't feel guilty, I didn't feel confused. I felt done. Outside, the sky was still bright and cruelly blue. I took a slow breath, squared my shoulders, and started walking home to my small, safe apartment that was still mine. I had spent my whole life sewing things for other people. That day, I finally stitched the last line on my own piece. Watch next, pick a video on screen, and hit subscribe. Thank you so much, guys, for your support. Comment your name with your city. I will give you a shout out in next video.